Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nation at 5. The Madurai bench of the Madras High Court has called for a legislation regulating internet usage for children. The court observed that the rising concerns over social media misuse, India must act to protect its young users. The High Court bench has also asked the state government to prepare an action plan to spread awareness on child's rights and safe internet practices until such a law is framed. The big question really is, though, that there are other countries that have tried to make such a legislation, Australia being one of them. Can India follow in that example to ban social media altogether for children under 16? Well, here's what the Madras High Court order said. That rising internet use was heightening children's vulnerability and the duty of parents. That centre may explore the possibility of passing legislations like in Australia. Till then, the court said that authorities shall push their awareness campaigns to vulnerable people, especially children, and to parents. They also said that the state and the centre must take the message to these vulnerable groups through all available media channels that can happen for them, that are possible for them. So why exactly are we discussing such a ban for children on social media? Well, there are two sides of it. Those who are for it say that children need to be shielded, especially from harmful algorithms that we see on social media apps or from cyberbullying. Those who are against it say that teenagers today are extremely smart. They would know how to bypass any of these blockades that are put in through. And if that happens, if they start using the dark web, if they start using VPNs, then that would be even worse. Those who are in favor of such a law say that this boosts mental health by reducing anxiety, depression and self-harm. On the other side, they say that this would isolate any of those vulnerable groups that we're actually trying to protect, and such a law would be counterproductive. Many of these platforms are addictive. The fact that you restrict the time for it, that means you block these kind of addictive behavior, that excessive screen time would be accounted for, and there would be accountability. This is what those who are in favor of such a legislation say. Now, those who are against, they say that this will only increase surveillance and that there would be no privacy for a child irrespective of what problem we are talking about. Those who are for such a legislation would say that platforms, especially social media platforms, based on what kind of content they give to children, must be held accountable if there is an issue with it. Those on the other side say that the legislation is not the way to go forward. Well, here are some key questions that we want to put out though. Can India verify age without actually hurting privacy? Is there a mechanism that can be put in place if such a law were to be enacted? Are digital literacy and parental control strong enough? What about schools? Do they depend too heavily on social media platforms these days? And if such a ban would come into effect, then what happens to the education aspect of it? Will bans actually push children to unregulated apps outside India? And that's something that is a cause of concern as well. Can the industry self-regulate, and can that be strengthened instead of bringing in such a blanket ban or such a wide law? How do we safeguard the access to education and to creative content? How do we distinguish that? That's something that is being debated as well. Akanksha, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more perspective on this. Akanksha, there are a lot of grey areas as far as such a legislation is concerned. Australia, of course, has taken the lead, but in India, it's going to be extremely difficult to follow suit, isn't it?
Absolutely. And remember, the blanket ban in Australia, which took place in December this year, has in fact been actively endorsed by the Albanese government, who has hailed this. More importantly, remember, Australia is the first country to ban social media for children below the age of 16. So Australia over here is becoming a very interesting case study, which is what the Madras High Court has also referred to, and urged the centre to come up with a ban similar on the lines of that what we have witnessed in Australia. You've already in fact shared some very key critical points, but if you speak to cyber experts and parents at the same time, you in fact are also made aware of two sides to the same coin over here. Parents are saying that their children mostly have nowadays in fact tasted social media, and so a blanket ban will not suffice, because let's also go by the example of Britain. Britain in fact introduced a Digital Safety Act, and soon after that act was introduced, there was a spike observed as far as the number of VPN consumption was concerned, and children are bound to also find ways to circumvent such a law. So will a blanket ban actually help, is the question that parents are posing. At the same time, if you bring in regulation, as is also being recommended through what the Madras High Court has had to say, they are saying that bring in a parental window where the control is provided to parents. Will that parental window ensure a robust name, identity, age verification Will it be able to provide, say, user-friendly teenage content for the teenagers? All of these concerns have to be kept in mind, Poonam.
Absolutely, and both the states and centre will now have to look at it. For the moment though, Akanksha, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that.